Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tiny Blue Games. My name, of course, is Sisa or Chris, and today we're playing Guild Wars 2. Now, it's a very exciting week for Guild Wars 2 as Episode 6 is going to be released. How this video might actually be uploaded after it's released, and if so, I'm probably just super hyped and ready to play it. But the topic of this video is actually something I've really wanted to talk about for a while, and it's one of the biggest problems I have with Guild Wars 2 right now. And no, it's not like a huge negative thing that would make me ever stop playing the game. It's just something that I feel the devs haven't capitalized on, and something that would make the game a lot more enjoyable for myself right now, and a lot more enjoyable in the long term for the game. So one of the things that a lot of people have known as a problem in Guild Wars 2 is the fact that leveling has become completely unnecessary once you've played the game for enough time at level 80. Just because you get enough tomes of knowledge that you can just level up any alt completely to level 80 for free. This is something that I experience even as a fairly casual player to the game, and I've only had this account for about a year. So, people who've had their accounts for well, no, I've had the account for maybe 2 years now. But for people who have had their accounts for like 5 years almost, they probably have just a shit ton of these. And they would never, ever need to level another character again. And why is that such a sad thing, I guess you might ask? Because a lot of games, leveling's pretty boring and people just want to get through it as fast as possible. Yeah, that's true. And I think that would even be the case in this game, is you'd still try to level as quickly as you could, but there's a big difference between leveling quickly and skipping the entire leveling process. And right now we're at skipping the entire leveling process. And this is a big shame, because Guild Wars 2 leveling is one of the strongest parts of the game in my opinion. And the big issue of not leveling characters is that you don't feel like you've grown on them. You don't feel the progression that you get. For instance, the very first character that I remember leveling, I like really feel like it's my main character. I put a lot of time into that character. But some of these alts that I'm making now just feel like meaningless. It's just really easy to get. Like, if I didn't like them for some reason, I could literally delete them and have a, almost the exact same character, but maybe with a different gender, just like that. And I think that's a huge issue for the game. Now, the biggest reason this is a problem is that you get so many tomes of knowledge from the game. You get a lot of them through reward tracks, and that's generally how I get my tomes of knowledge as well. Now, another big problem of them being worthless is that those rewards from reward tracks feel like garbage now. When I get a Tome of Knowledge from my PvP reward track, I consider that just to be like worthless, absolutely pointless. I just take it, stack it in my bank, and that's it. I might not ever need to use it. I might need to use it, but it makes the PvP reward track feel less rewarding. Could you imagine how rewarding it would feel to do PvP or something like that if it was really hard to level or something like that, and you still got a level per Tome of Knowledge, and then it'd be like, oh shit, I got a Tome of Knowledge, that's awesome, I can level my alt by like 1 level today or something like that. And that's kind of the envisionment they had for the game when they first started it, with the Tome of Knowledges. And that's how you do it. You just get a few of them every so often and you level your character. And even for your first level 80, that's kind of how it is for a lot of accounts. It's just the fact that you keep on getting them and there's no other purpose for them, so that there's going to be eventually a case where you just have so many and you don't need them anymore. So that kind of brings us to the last little bit of this discussion, or the second part of this discussion, is how could they become useful? Now, they could just rework the entire way experience works in terms of knowledge to make it so that maybe they don't give you a full level anymore, or maybe you can only use a certain amount of them on on a character or something like that. But that still makes it so that they're not really ideal. Another way you could do it is have it so that you could sell them through the auction house to other players. However, that would make it so that you could just buy your way to level 80. It would also make it so that you could just completely skip any kind of leveling if you wanted, and I don't think that's a really good thing for the game as well. So I'm just voicing things here that could be bad or could be good right now. I'm not suggesting my ultimate plan for it, which I can't really make an ultimate plan. I'm not a developer by any means, and I think the biggest thing we need to do is discuss it openly as a community to see if, some people can start to think of some better ways to deal with it, and then maybe the developers will read that and be like, okay, yeah, let's do this or something like that. I think one of the best ways to deal with it is to not change them, but just have a vendor somewhere that takes Tombs of Knowledge and, gives very specific aesthetic rewards that cost a lot of them. And that would make it so that you have to choose between the two of them. It would chew up all the existing ones, and it would be very beneficial that way. Another way that it could be fixed, or at least somewhat fixed, is, and this is something that Wooden Potatoes actively thinks is a good idea, is if your alts had their own masteries, so like it wasn't account bound anymore, so you had to go through the mastery points and the mastery experience on each of your new characters to give them that feeling of progression. And now the way he says it, he'd like the experience to be toned down, and I don't want to like put words in his mouth, so don't, if you want to see his opinion, go watch his videos and his streams. Like, don't take what I'm saying to be exactly his words, but that's generally what he's saying, is that he thinks it would be a very interesting thing if, instead of it being account bound, it was a progression system that was on each of the new characters you made, so that you felt like you had to progress each of these characters. If that was the case, and we had it so Tombs of Knowledge contributed experience to the mastery path, I think that could be very beneficial, because it is very likely that the new expansion will have more masteries and require more experience, and then just every living world will add new masteries as well, and that'll just always make it necessary to have a certain amount of experience. And then if it's on multiple characters, there's even more drive to have those Tombs of Knowledge into, hey, I've just, the new living stories coming in 2 weeks or something like that. I want to farm some PvP to get some Tombs of Knowledge so I can learn these new masteries when they come out. Like, it just makes so many parts of the game more interesting when Tombs of Knowledge become quite useful. And there's a final part that's really sad about the Tombs of Knowledge is, well, I mean, they come from rewards such as Black Lion chests, and when you get one of those from your Black Lion chest, you're like, wow, that is the shittiest piece of shit ever. But even more so, ArenaNet likes to reward players for like birthdays and stuff like that, or anniversaries or events with, scrolls to level 20, scrolls to like level 30 or level 80 insta boosters. And those are completely devalued by the fact that I have a stack of 250 Tombs of Knowledge, and that's not even that many Tombs of Knowledge. Some people probably have stacks and stacks. Why would I care that I'm getting a level 20 insta boost scroll for my third anniversary of the game? Why would I care? Like, they have to fix it. Either they change the rewards they're giving for anniversaries, but I think these are pretty good rewards. I just think leveling in this game needs to be worthwhile again. It really does. It needs to at least a little bit more worthwhile. Like, maybe not to a point where there was no Tombs of Knowledge, but even if like there was a ton more ways to spend your Tombs of Knowledge and you had to be a bit more choosy with it, or if they were slightly less effective, maybe they only gave you 50% or something like that. I don't know if that would do it. It's obviously a bit of fine tuning on the developers' end to sort of see what the deal is, but I definitely think that there is an argument to be made that Tombs of Knowledge do have to change, and I don't think a lot of people are against that. It's something that has to be done, and we can look at other games and how they've dealt with leveling after you already have someone at max level. For instance, one of my favorite systems was World of Warcraft's heirloom system. Now, heirlooms were armor pieces that you'd get, and they would just increase the amount of experience you gained, and be very strong armor that you could put on your alts. And it would be kind of cool because you'd look very specific. You'd look like you have heirlooms, so it'd be obvious that you have someone who's level 80, and you just get more experience for each piece you got, and they'd be pretty hard to get. It would take a while to get a few pieces. And then after a few years of playing on your account, you'd have stored up, a whole set of heirlooms or something like that for whichever ult you're going to make. I thought that was a really cool system. I would argue in saying that, maybe the leveling with the heirlooms was a bit slow. Like, it'd still be quite tedious to level someone from 0 to max levels, even if you had heirlooms. So I'd like somewhere in between that and the Tomb of Knowledge, just insta spam. But it's definitely something interesting to look at. I think because most developers for games do look at how other MMOs and other games handle these systems. And I think it would be interesting if they did have some sort of equipment, or maybe you could consume a bunch of the Tombs of Knowledge. Maybe if you consumed a stack of Tombs of Knowledge, you get a 5% experience bonus to your account from all types of experience. That could be very interesting. Even then, it would cap at some point, but maybe that would be a cool way to do it. And maybe it's even 500 or 1,000 Tombs of Knowledge or something. Whatever amount makes sense. But just something crazy like that would be an interesting way to sort of give different ways of getting experience. I think that's another thing I want to look at. Just not just rewarding flat out experience, but also ways of just augmenting your experience. I think those are the two different paths they need to play with. So that's just kind of my discussion. I was just playing PvP in the background because, hey, I'm trying to get gold and stuff from the season while it's still active, while I'm waiting for the new episode to come out. But yeah, share your comments on this in the discussion below. I'd like to know what people think in terms of Tombs of Knowledge. Do you guys like them how they are right now? Do you have a stack of them and think they're useless? I don't know. Hopefully you like this video. If you do, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.